racing immediately. But a champion becomes a legend. McCabe Diva wins it again.
Yes, yes, yes. Wins the Everest. Glen Boss wins another big one.
Hello everyone and welcome to Who's the Boss for another episode. Adam Peacock and Glen Boss. Bossy, great to see you again, mate. How's your week been?
Great week. Thank you, Adam. Had the Stradbroke. We had the Calcutta at the Stradbroke, which was massive. 600 people turned up for the Calcutta. There was a lot of money there, a lot of money raised, and Stradbroke Day was an absolutely belter. Beautiful weather, good results, and good racing. What about your week? There's a rumour going around that you almost $1 million hole-in-one.
Yeah.
At the Mick Fanning Golf Day.
Yeah, the reality could have been, Bossy, that I wasn't here this week. I was still in the cloud somewhere. So there was a hole-in-one hole. So it was $1 million if you sink it from 150 out up the hill there at Coolangatta. Brilliant day, Mick Fanning Golf Day, raising money for people affected by the floods in the northern rivers and mid-north coast now of New South Wales. And I reckon they'll go to raising close to $1 million just on the day alone. But yeah, they had this $1 million hole, and it landed about a metre and a half to the right of the pin, but stopped right on the top of a ridge, and it could have just trickled down there. And ever since, Bossy, I've spent that $1 million about 83 times in my head, but that's life, isn't it?
Yeah, that is life, but you must have had a fun day there. And it's like you say, they raise a lot of money for a lot of people in desperate need. And unfortunately, I couldn't be there due to work commitments, and I wish I could have been there.
Clear the diary next year, mate. But you were at the Stradbroke and you watched getting it to racing right now before we get to our special guest. War Machine, destroy them in the Stradbroke. There looks to be much bigger things, as good as the Stradbroke is, ahead for this horse.
Yeah, War Machine was very impressive. It got into a great spot, beautifully ridden by Timmy Clark. And look, Timmy Clark's a very good judge. I know him personally very well. And he was talking Everests after this race. And he wouldn't have been throwing this horse into an Everest mix for fun. I understand where he comes from. He's a man of few words, but when he does talk like that, you have to listen. So this could be a real contender for an Everest slot in the coming spring.
Now later in the show, we'll talk about the big meeting at Ipswich. I want your thoughts on what it's like at Ipswich on Ipswich Cup Day, which could have some fun stories to tell. So that's a bit later on. But right now on the other side of the world, we've got the Royal Meeting at Ascot there, west of London. The 5 days in a row, it's kicked off. On day one of this meeting, Bossy, we saw an Australian flavour, Docklands, which ran midfield in a Cox Plate last year, ridden by Mark Zara, an absolute peach of a ride to win one of the big races there on day one. What did you make of that victory for Docklands and Zara?
Yeah, it was brilliant. What an OTI purchased horse. They brought him over to, like you said, here to run our Cox Plate. And then he went to Hong Kong. He performed okay in Hong Kong, and then he's gone to the Royal Ascot meeting. And it was a strange, it was a straight mile. He missed the start Docklands and was back last in a very, very slow run race, which probably helped him because he was never far off the lead, and Mark was just be able to coax him up underneath him on the bridle, and when he took the split, he really went fast, and I mean he just gathered momentum very quickly. And what about Mark Zara? He's a phenomenal jockey. We know how good he is, but he just basically got off the source. Well, mate, I was actually on my way to Ibiza and just thought I'd have a ride on the way through at Royal Ascot. How good is he?
Priorities. If you know anything about Mark Zara, if you follow him on Instagram, he actually, if he's ridden anything, it can be a benchmark 78 on a Saturday, and you'll know later that night. We had Malcolm Johnston earlier in the series saying that Saturday nights was his night to kind of just unwind from a big week. So Mark Zara invariably will get a nice bottle of champagne or wine or something like that, and that'll be the post, and he's into it and having a good time.
Oh, he's when it comes to Saturday evenings, he's Group 1, proper Group 1 performer. And I'm tipping he's cutting a sway through Ibiza as we speak.
As you do.
As you do.
You're never too old. Just on the way he handled that, and a big race ride, and it was a gun ride by a gun jockey at the top level. Who springs to mind, Bossy, when you think of big race riders getting it right in the big occasion, which can't be easy sometimes? I mean, I'll put yourself in this category and embarrass you right now because you did it 3 times in a row in a Melbourne Cup of course. But who else exists in that realm of getting it right when it really, really counts?
Oh, there's several of them. The ones that come straight off the top of my head are Damien Oliver, with his record and especially, given parts of his career, he was under immense pressure. And he just got the job done. I admire him for his courage and his mental capacity. Darren Beedman is one that comes to mind very quickly. Shane Dye, Jimmy Cassidy, these guys. And now we have James McDonald, who just seems to get the job done, executes perfection all the time, especially in the bigger races. He's seen it at his best. So they're the guys that come to mind. And then you like Mark Zara, Craig Williams. I could run off. And we're embarrassed with riches in Australia with our riders. I dare say we're the envy of the rest of the world with our talent. Look at Zach. What Zach Purton's doing, he has been doing in Hong Kong, and anytime any of our jockeys go overseas, they just dominate. So, like I said, it's embarrassing because I leave so many names out, great jockeys, but they're the ones that just spring to my mind.
So a guy like Mark Zara looks like a pretty laid-back cat and, doesn't get too wound up. But out of those guys you mentioned there and a lot of guys you rode against, who was the one that just was like, in the corner of the room, didn't talk to anyone because they were just in some kind of zone?
Yeah, Damien, he was like that. He is possibly one of the most, I'd say he's probably the most competitive guy I've ever not only ridden against, but you play golf with him. You do anything you do with him. He's very competitive. Hates losing. Yeah. He was that guy. He was very steely when he was just about to board like a horse in a Group 1 race.
Yeah. What's he like when you beat him at golf?
Not very happy. He's not very happy at all. He's that type of person. He just hates losing.
Oh, well.
And I never beat him at golf anyway, so it's irrelevant.
I was going to say. Got to mention as well our sponsors here. We'll get to IPE a bit later in the show, but AirTouch, our crew, our friends at AirTouch who sponsor Who's the Boss so much here and certainly do so on season 4. They're great supporters, Bossy, and handy to have at this time of year. It's the controlled air conditioning, which you can control wherever you are remotely to get it set for when you get home. Extremely relevant, especially in the southern states for the winter months.
Yeah, I really appreciate their support and I appreciate their product too. Like I've said on many occasions, we're getting cool back in Queensland at the moment. Early mornings are quite frosty, so my house is set on 24 all the time, and it works like a peach. So if you haven't got the good air conditioning in your house and you're considering getting it, I'd go to AirTouch first and foremost.
There you go. Thanks to AirTouch, airtouch.net.au. Check them out, and they're great supporters of Who's the Boss. So let's now get to our special guest this week, and we've got we're embarrassed for how much great sport there is at the moment. So this week alone, you've got Royal Ascot, you've just had the US Open Golf, we've had another Origin game. We'll talk about that in greater detail as the weeks go on because we're looking forward to the crescendo as well. And we've got a British and Irish Lions to adjust around the corner, Bossy. It snuck up on us. There's so much hype about this, but it's just about here. The Wallabies taking on the best of the Northern Hemisphere and the home nations, if you like, in the British and Irish Lions. Should be epic. Oh,
I've heard there's 40,000 pommies going to make their way to our shores. That's huge, right? It's epic. Obviously, it doesn't come around that often, so when it does, it's an epic scene, and I'd hopefully get to experience one of the games up here. But yeah, I can't wait for this tour of the British Lions. It's going to be so good.
Yeah, just around the corner. And with that in mind, we've got our special guest today. It's Adam Ashley Cooper, who scored a match-winning try against the Lions the last time they were here 12 years ago. He's now in the afterlife of Rugby Union, just about. He's still playing the odd game, and he'll mention this in our chat. But he's good fun, Adam Ashley Cooper, veteran Wallaby, one of the best Wallabies of the last 20 years, certainly, and good fun. Here he is on Who's the Boss. Adam Ashley Cooper, Wallabies legend, welcome.
Thank you.
Who's the Boss? How are you?
Cold.
Cold.
She's crisp this morning.
It is winter.
I had to
what happens.
Had to get the line bike from the mechanic down the road. Found out yesterday, as you blokes know, I forgot to renew my registration. in February. So I've been driving around in an unregistered
Well, you
vehicle.
got your
Same thing. Same thing. Exactly the same thing
Yesterday,
yesterday.
right?
Same thing. I realised that been driving on an unregistered vehicle, and it's a absolutely shit show to try and get a car re-registered these days.
Now, my biggest issue was the lack of notification.
Yeah, same.
Now, there may have been some mail sent to my letterbox, but like they're antiques. Like who has a letterbox these days? Like everything's digitally handed over.
Yeah,
Right?
pretty well.
And I'm thinking,
I'm noticing letterboxes in front of every house still.
do you? Yeah,
But they don't
right.
get used.
I keep missing them.
It's a digital world we live in.
But the poor old love on the phone yesterday, Service New South Wales. She copped a fair spray. But I'm thinking like it's 2025. The amount of automation, proliferation of AI. Like, how did I not know?
I reckon you knew and you just kicked it down the road.
The worst part is I've been driving around for ages without no registration for a long time.
So how did you get pulled up on it?
I went to get my car serviced, and they said, you've got you're not registered. I said, no. How would I ever know that?
Yeah. Well, luckily for me, it was my boss that got pulled over by the copper yesterday. Yeah. And so he had to go get a haircut, lower the years. When was the last time you had one?
I did. I had yesterday.
Fair bit of stick
in
early.
the shower. I shaved.
Sorry, Bossy.
Yes, yeah, good. I've been envious.
Anyway, so he rings me and goes, mate.
I've been looking at this beautiful mane.
Thanks, mate. Achieved what I wanted there. A bit of feedback. Yeah, and so he rings me, mate, your car's not registered? I was like, what are you talking about? Yes, coppers pulled you over, giving me a couple of fines. I said, oh, well, you have to transfer them. Anyway, so I'm on the phone, and the process is very unfamiliar.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because I've been living in a bubble for 20 years, like just following the bloke in front and being told what to do, or it's just like blue slip into CTP, got to turn up to Service New South Wales today with a bunch of documentation. I haven't got that checklist in order yet. It's a re-register. So I've got to start again, and the number plates, which are personalised, I have to take them off. I have to buy another set of number plates for 6 months.
We're going to find Swoop. We're going to find Swoop again.
Swoop 1.
Swoop 2.
Swoop hasn't won. But
Can you just reiterate that you actually drove to a mechanic just around the corner here from where we have Who's the Boss, the studio, and you've got a line bike here? You rode a line bike.
Well, you
here.
blokes said it was a 9 a.m. sharp start,
Yeah.
right? So I left the Northern Beaches at 7:30 this morning, like yourself.
Yeah.
Tunnel was slow.
As always.
And I got here, so ETA for the mechanic to get the blue slip was 8:40 start, but I got there at 8:50, and I'm thinking these blokes are,
Well, I'll tell you what we'll do,
down,
Swoop.
but so I got the line bike in, just cut down a 14-minute walk to a 3-minute line.
That was pretty well done.
Yeah.
Got your steps in, a bit of. I'll tell you what we'll do though, settle you down because
Yeah, my heart rate's up.
I know it's your heart rate's a bit elevated. What we'll do, we're going to have a nice champagne out of the cups.
Yes.
That'll
Exactly.
just get you into the mood. What we'll do, it's good fun. You've probably never done this, right?
Never.
Have you had a champagne over a
So
Melbourne
you
Cup?
can have 2004.
What
This is
year?
Maccabi Diva.
Is this a...
This was when she won on the slow track, and given you've been on a slow track for the last 3
Actually,
months
she
with
beat
your
she beat Vinnie Rowe that
Red
year.
Joe, yes.
Oh, what about that?
Actually, you can have 03, the first one.
03?
Yeah.
All right, okay.
And what are my options?
05, the record breaker. Which one do you want?
Who's that?
Maccabi Diva.
Maccabi.
Funnily enough, that's Maccabi
Oh,
Diva,
they're
and that's
all-
Maccabi
they're all-
Diva.
Yeah,
right.
right, okay. Oh, well then.
Give me that one, Swoop. I'll
Yeah.
throw that. Now this will help you out, mate.
We've got some racing stories coming. One that concerns the Arc Triomphe with you a bit later on.
Yep.
So I'm looking forward to getting
Throw
to
that
that.
Yeah,
out.
we'll get into that
Yep.
one.
Move that mic out the way.
This could be 10 o'clock at night here.
And the big
perfect.
It's
question
not 9
is,
o'clock in the morning.
Swoop, will the Wallabies be doing this in a couple of months' time
You'd hope so.
after the Lions tour?
Now,
Cheers,
Cheers.
boys.
yeah, cheers.
Cheers.
Melbourne
Happy
Cups.
days.
To car regos.
Car Regos.
Blue slips, green slips, pink slips.
Gold slips.
Oh, how good's
Yeah.
that?
So the Lions tour, mate. What
They're
are we
coming.
thinking? It is
Jeez, that's a nice drop. Thanks
Good
for
one,
that.
isn't it?
one of the great events. It's up there with World Cups, isn't it? In terms of, because I mean they bounce around for the uninitiated. They tour South Africa, they tour New Zealand, they tour Australia, but 4 years in between each tour, so it's 12 years before they get back here.
Yeah.
We'll get into 2013, what happened there. But how big is this?
It's huge. I mean, the build-up is huge, but I mean, the fact that they come out only once every 12 years, like a player could almost play 100 tests for the Wallabies and not get to experience a series against the Lions. So coming out once every 12 years, it's quite novel, and it's a kind of a unique experience for any player involved. I mean, there's hundreds of thousands of Brits that come out for it. You can only fit a certain amount into the stadium, but like my first experience in 2013, I was a little bit unaware and probably unprepared in terms of the build. Because I went to 2 World Cups prior to that, and the World Cup build is electric, but the Lions, it kind of didn't really hit me until first game, Suncorp, kind of arm in arm singing the national anthem, and just seeing just like the energy of the crowd, but the sea of red and how much support they get. And so, because as a footy player, you kind of live in a bubble, and it's very rarely do you kind of break through that bubble and get a feel for the vibe, the atmosphere, or kind of like the connection with the community outside that, and understand the gravity or the weight of the experience or the moment. But that was like, okay, I get it. And it's going to be the same, if not bigger. July 19 is it, Prof? July 19 up there in the first game, Suncorp.
Yeah, wow, the joint's going to be rocking.
Oh, mate, it's the best stadium to play.
Yeah,
footy.
Best place to watch footy too.
100%.
You just feel like and there's no bad seats.
I mean, I'm not a Queenslander, but it's my favourite stadium to play, Suncorp.
Yeah,
apart from Blue Tongue Stadium on the Central Coast, which was Graham Park back in the day. But
It was Blue Tongue Stadium about 15 years ago as well.
Before Graham Park, before that, then I went to Blue Tongue, then to
I don't know what they call it now, but it's the one with
John
the palm trees on the
Singleton
water.
Stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the joint will be just weeks in advance. It'll be pumping, right?
It'll be pumping. I mean, like there's people already coming out for it. I mean, and the fact that they kind of complement the major tests, the 3 tests in Brisbane, Melbourne, and Sydney is with the games against the franchises. So the first one's I think the Force at the end of the month. Then they'll play the Brumbies. They've got that ANZ New Zealand kind of hybrid team to take them on too. But like, I mean, it's a great experience. I mean, I remember when they came out in 2001. Was it 2001?
Yeah. I was working on it.
Yeah, I mean, it was my last. Were you really?
Yeah.
My last year of school, and I remember just watching it, just seeing like on TV on the coast, and just seeing the impact it had on the rugby community.
It was amazing.
It was huge.
It must be a massive entourage that come with the Lions. Can you imagine how many people? Like I'm talking, the staff, the physios,
the team,
family.
yeah.
Can you imagine how many people just connected to the team are actually coming? That's a
40,
big.
40 players, something like that, because they have 2 squads. So they play midweek.
Yeah,
on
it's
weekends.
uncertain in terms of how many numbers they'll come because there's actually no limit or restriction on that. In a World Cup, you can only take 31, maybe 31 players. So you've got to be quite strategic on who you take. But I think Lions, it's a free for all, right?
Wow.
You bring out as many as you want, as many as they can afford, and obviously, English rugby have got a fair bit of cash. Well, not the fact that it's just English rugby by themselves, but like they put a lot into it.
Yeah.
Firm favourites.
Yeah, look, if you asked me that question 12 months ago, I would say firm favourites.
Yep.
And there'd probably be a lot of people back home saying that they shouldn't even come out because it'd just be a whitewash. There's
Yeah,
no
is that
point.
right? Yeah.
But the resurgence of not just Rugby Australia, but the team, the coaching staff, like there's been a real shift. And obviously due to the great influence of Joe Schmidt and his assistant coaches, I think that there's been a real shift in terms of how they're playing the game. And so answering your question now, I'd say it's going to be very competitive.
Yeah.
So how's that? Because the playing stocks haven't really changed. Like when Joe Schmidt came in, he's still got the same bunch of players to select from. But yet he's come in, he's got Les Kiss who will take over. That's the succession plan in the next 18 to 24 months because Joe wants to kind of take a step back from full-time coaching, but hopefully still involved with Australian. But how's he been able to do this? Because, couldn't have been easy.
Well, geez, there's so many ways you can go about answering that. I think the fact that it's Joe's background, right? He's travelled the world. He's worked with a number of world-class teams, world-class athletes. He knows what success looks like. And the fact that I think he's a teacher by trade, right? So one, he can operate a team in terms of mindset, skill set, and directing a team in terms of what winning looks like and developing a winning attitude and going out and performing well in the field. But also he can manage the player. And I think that's what I found quite challenging when I thought I could change the world from transitioning from a rugby player to a coach. You know, there was an itch that I needed to scratch because you play for so long, you think that you can not reinvent the world, but you can maybe influence or contribute in a way that is unique to you and your experiences over the years. I went into that and realised it's actually not coaching; it's more player management, that's interesting because I grew up in an era where feedback was quite brutal and honest conversations were very common. It's different now with the younger generation, and to navigate that was quite challenging. So you've got that piece, and then you've got to inspire a bloke every day so he can get up and stay motivated and driven to kind of be better. And then you've got the team, and it's just there's a lot, right? So I think with Joe, he's just come back, and I think in a way he's kind of just taken out what I think we've suffered from over the last decade. He's trying to be too cute, too sexy, you know, and play this really smart, awesome, good style, entertaining game of football. But really, we've just lacked the physicality and kind of just the brutal kind of confrontation.
Yeah.
And so, and I don't mean to be disrespectful to the players over the years in terms of that physicality level, but I think he's just come back. He said, look, let's just go back to basics. And what we're seeing now is a team that's hungry, that's finding their rhythm through speed and power because there's more continuity in play because they're holding onto the ball. They're more efficient at the attacking ruck. We're just seeing a lot more cohesion and just the basics or the foundations of the game just done very well. And that's where the game's won. That's
where a lot of the great coaches I've met, just reiterating what you're saying, they're very good player managers, and the team actually galvanises and really wants to play for their leader or their captain.
Yeah.
The bloke who's steering the ship. They actually want to bleed for him. You know, and I was talking to Gordy Tallis the other day about it. He said, you know, it's very, very simple. I was just trained to go out there and hurt people. That was my job. Let's put it real simple. He said, I was actually going out there to hurt people. But, for that 80 minutes, that was my job, to go out there and just crush as many people as I could. It was very simple, and Wayne kept it very simple for me, you know. And it's so physical. He wanted to scare people. He physically wanted to hurt people when he was on the field. Very simple.
Well, that's identifying someone's personality and what they're good at, and how they can contribute to the team and perform their role, right? Yep. They nailed that partnership or that relationship in terms of allowing Gordon to go out and perform his role to the best of his ability.
Yes.
And that was to bring that kind of physical edge.
Yes.
I think with Joe, you can see the relationships that he's building with the players, and he's just getting the best out of
on different levels.
On different levels.
Yes, yeah.
You know, and it could be like a physical influence or a mindset or not a spiritual but an emotional influence, but also just guiding them to make sure they're playing to their strengths. And he's got the right relationship to keep them motivated, driven, and willing to grow each day.
With the Lions, so they're so unique because it's 4 nations into one. So England, Scotland, Wales, Ireland. This time around, Ireland have the biggest representation, which is a marked difference from previous years. Wales have only got 2, I think, so that kind of sums up where they are. So they pluck the best of the best from those teams. Who out of that 4 socially the best to get along with? Because rugby is a very social sport.
100%.
After you're done, you clap each other off, and then you go and get on the gas together. Who's the best to?
It's a tough one. I mean, I think when you kind of play in the professional space, you're all out there. You're all out there for the same reasons. 1, because you love playing the game, and 2, it's your job, and there's a responsibility to represent yourself and represent either your country or your franchise or your team or your club. And so there's a mutual respect. And the best thing about not just contact sport but rugby, particularly on the international level, is that you get to compete against the best players in the world. And it's 80 minutes where you can actually just put a bit of sting in and see what you've got. But it's not the fact that you're competing. It's almost like you're competing against yourself, and it's a bit of a marker against them. So there's a lot that you get out of it. And I think once that's over, it's almost like it's not a sacred or a secret kind of relationship. It's more, there's a bond in a way.
Mutual respect.
Mutual respect. Yeah. And so it certainly makes the aftermatch a lot easier, depending on who wins or loses. But to answer your question, sorry I'm going a long way about it, It's a tough one because for an Aussie, like big part of our culture is what, beers with your mates.
Bonding.
Pub, bonding,
Yep.
what to be said for having a beer with your mate. Punting, barbecue. So it's what's the criteria, right? For an Aussie.
Yeah.
The fact you can just sit down and have a beer and have a bit of a yarn and also a bit of a laugh. So, I mean, they all kind of fit that that framework, but the Irish, I would say, would be up there because they're pretty sharp with their banter. They get sarcasm. They're brutal with their honesty, but also they love a pint. Like,
and they love us. They love Aussies.
Yeah.
They just love us. I mean, and we love them too. Don't worry about that.
But I mean, it's hard because the Welsh boys are. I mean, the best thing about the game is too that one, it's global in terms of where you get the opportunity to play, but also you can come together as well. Like you can actually meet. I played against guys in the All Blacks for however many years, and towards the end of my career, I ended up playing with them in Japan.
Yeah.
So you've got that kind of you've got that experience too, but also you've got the barbarians as well, and so that's
when everyone comes from
that's where
everywhere
everyone comes from everywhere to
match.
play one against one team.
Yeah, and no training.
So it's those shared experiences which makes it hard to answer that question too, because in the bar bars, you've got guys that you kind of play with and you spend, and the bar bars week setup is all about kind of the social aspect.
Yeah.
You got to play as hard as you can socially and play as hard as you can on the weekend.
Yeah, that's good.
What a concept.
I love that concept.
It
works.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's pretty tough.
What, the entertaining part?
Well,
That's hard,
when you're kind of warming up against South Africa at Twickenham, right, and you can't see past the halfway,
Yeah.
thinking I've got to play a test match in about 20 minutes. The internal
Just
dialogue's
think how loose you
redlining.
are. You'd be nice and loose,
Funny thing is, we went out there and put 20 points on him in the first 20 minutes.
And then you start to
But it
sober up.
worked, and we won. So you're thinking, all this professional prep that I've been going through is just like, it's fraudulent.
I did want to ask that, Bossy, as well, to you guys. Remember we had Miracle a couple of weeks ago, and he said, all I did was, like, I was a good boy through the week. I got to Saturday night, and then it was off the chain.
Yeah, off the chain for
have a big
day.
night, have a great time, and then Monday morning rock up for TJ Smith and go mind back on. I mean, do you need that? Do you guys need that as a professional release? And can you have it in the modern day? Has it changed?
I think balance. What do you want to refer to it as? Is it release or balance?
Yeah, balance.
Yeah,
I would say, because when we're on as an athlete, you're on, and especially when you represent your country and your franchise, you want to be on. They paid the big money for you to be there, so there's a part of that where when you're in your private, you just let it go at home and you just sit down and have a few cans and that and just let yourself go, but or with your mates, with your mates. But yeah, you were I just looked at you. Just with your chosen sport, it's incredible the amount of countries that you can go and represent and live at. You've had an extraordinary life as far as places you've been. It's incredible.
Yeah, I look back and go, geez, you did it all right.
You covered some ground.
You did.
Run through them.
Well, the circuit was, I won't take you back to the Central Coast days, but Canberra for 8 years, back to Sydney for 4, and then I went to France for a couple of seasons, to Japan for a couple of seasons, came back thinking I could potentially make the 2019 World Cup. I did, so I was back here. I never thought I'd actually be back in Australia playing, but came back here. We got locked down in COVID, and then I went to the US for a couple of seasons. So I kind of did it all.
Injuries, you must have managed injuries pretty well though, throughout your career.
Yeah, I was lucky. I touched a lot of wood, even though that's not. Is that wood?
No,
some granite.
There's some wood underneath.
Touched a lot of wood throughout my career.
Yeah.
I became quite superstitious, but injuries are part of the game, right?
Yeah, there's no doubt. It's a contact sport.
And I think with every injury, you kind of learn a new process and you learn about yourself a little bit more. So I kind of became quite diligent, anal, and maybe a little obsessive with my routine in terms of prep and recovery.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with
Then
that.
you got
You'd
the
rather,
barbarians.
But
you'd rather overdo it than not do it at all.
well, that's right. But when you kind of each year you keep overdoing it, you're adding things to your routine. So by the end of it, it's just like it's a 24-hour process. You're warming up for the warm up.
Yeah. What about the best place, the funnest place, the coolest place you lived?
It's hard because everyone says, "Oh, what was the best? What was better, France or Japan?" Like in terms of playing rugby, you can't compare it. It's two completely different cultures.
I lived in Japan for a bit. It's
Unbelievable. Eh?
I loved it. If I had my time over again, everyone says, "Oh, you shouldn't go through life with regrets." My biggest regret is that I should have learnt the language and written a bit of the language, because if you do show that initiative, they'll give you a good license, because we get 3 months as an international. They give you a window of 3 months every year. So you go and do your 3 months in Japan, and that's it. But if you show some courage and try and learn their language and speak it, they'll give you a full-time license. It's the best place to live on earth. I just loved it.
What was the lifestyle?
I just love the culture. I love the people. I love the food. I just love their way of life. I just gravitated towards it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Their sport's huge. They are passionate about their sport over there. Like you think Australians are passionate about sport? No, don't compare to them. They absolutely love you.
Yeah, it's interesting how big the sport is there, and it's business or company backed in a way. So basically, it's their opportunity, because a lot of big brands, those global brands like Panasonic, Suntory.
What was your mob?
Kobe Steel.
Steel.
Yeah, I mean, steel manufacturer, but I think they're more into kind of energy now at the moment. But I was up there, and the thing is, you're actually not playing for a rugby team. You're playing for the company.
Yeah.
You're just playing. You kind of work in the rugby department. And so with each Japanese team up there in the top league, there's quite a strict ratio on how many Japanese you can have to foreigners. And I think let's just call it maybe an 80-20 rule, because you can only have a certain amount on the field at any given time. And so that kind of restricts the number of foreigners you can have in a squad. But I'd be getting off the field in the morning from a morning training session, and I'm kind of going through the onsen, the sauna, my recovery process, putting on my flip-flops and casuals to go back home and have a bit of a midday nap, where blokes are putting on their suits to go to the office, or putting on their hard hats and overalls and going to the factory.
Fair dinkum.
Yeah. So basically, when you
So the foreigners didn't need to do that.
Foreigners didn't need to do that.
It'd be fun if you got there and they said,
by
the way, Swoop, that you have to go and here's your hard hat and enjoy your day at work.
Yeah.
What would you have done?
I would have gone hard hat. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
No suit?
I wouldn't know what I'm doing in there, mate.
No.
Yeah.
No. With the compliance and everything, like with the car rego, just
all
making
that,
sure that everything's put in the right order.
laptops,
But
emails.
France must have been fun. France must have been really
That was
fun.
awesome.
There's another place,
It's funny. It's interesting, hey, because I've always kind of, now that I reflect back, you kind of, it's all the same. Like, no matter where you go in the world, the blokes in the change room are talking about the same things. It's just the language that's different.
Yeah.
And once you kind of translate or decipher it, you kind of it's very comfortable.
Yeah.
So where were you there?
So in Bordeaux.
Bordeaux. Tell us about Bordeaux.
Good wine. Put on a few kilos pretty quickly there. But
You love your Reds?
that was an awesome experience. I mean, I joined a team that had been promoted from the second division, Pro D2, a few years ago. So they were kind of competing around mid-table. They actually just won the Champions Cup a couple of weeks ago. So in terms of their progression as a club, it's awesome to witness and also share a small part. But mate, it's fantastic because we lived in this French little apartment in the middle of the city in Bordeaux, and everyone's they just love their rugby. No matter where you go in France, the stadiums are full, right? Regardless of the conditions or the style of play, they're swinging they're waving their flags, they're blowing their trumpets, they're chanting. It's just there's such a following there, such a passion and love for the game.
Why is that? Because they like the physical element of it? Because they're big into football and Olympic sports?
Well, I mean, soccer's huge there.
Yeah.
And then there's rugby. The way they've approached it over the years, and I'm talking years and years, that they just love the entertainment side. They always refer to players, magnifique or beautiful or French flair. And so they just want to see a beautiful game of attacking rugby.
What about, how do you say swoop in French?
La swoop.
La swoop. I love it.
That's a new number plate.
Actually, I got that wrong. It's Le Swoop. La is feminine. Yeah.
Le Swoop.
Well, either works. It's funny. Everyone referred to me as Ashley over there. Ashley.
Yeah.
They didn't realise I had a first name. So when they kind of saw the marquee signing, it was, obviously Ashley Cooper. So they thought my first name was Ashley and last name was Cooper. So I'm referred to most of the French boys as
He's a
Ashley.
very famous Australian tennis player, Ashley Cooper.
Ashley Cooper,
They
yeah.
thought they were getting a 65-year-old tennis player.
Yeah.
And they got you.
Decent backhand.
Yeah.
But it was awesome. It was a great experience. And I remember when Laurent Marty, the president of the club, pulled me in my second year, halfway through the season. He says, "Oh, Adam, I'm sorry, but I'm not re-sign you." I was like, "What? What do you mean?" I was like, because I'd set up for life there.
Yeah.
Went over there with my fiance at the time, and we were like, this is us for the next 10 years. We'll raise kids here, send them to creche. Let them,
You were going well. Your form was good.
yeah, decent.
Yeah.
I mean, not through the colder months when you're not touching the ball out there on the edge, but yeah, I thought I did a pretty decent job. Maybe not, because here he is just giving me the flick, and I'm like, so I was just like, I knew a bit of French at the time, so I said, "Pourquoi?" Like, why? And then he's like, "Well, too much money. You cost too much money." I was like, "Oh, that's fair. Yes, I can get 3 players for you." I was like, "Oh, okay. Okay, thanks very much."
And that was it.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, like, I had a great time, and like, I understood it. I understood it. Like,
Was he hoping you said, I'll take a pay cut to stay?
Oh no, I kind of said, look, I'm happy to do that, but it's the international rules are a little bit funny in terms of the GIFs and the foreigners and anyway, that's unnecessary. But he's like, "What do you do now?" I was like, "Well, if I can't play here, because we really engulfed ourselves into that kind of that program, that culture, and that community, and that group. Then I was just like, well, if I'm not going to play in France, I'm not going to play anywhere else. You know what I mean? In terms of, I'm not going to go to another French club. So I just put the feelers out there, and then there was an opportunity to go to Japan. I was like,
Yeah.
let's do that.
Did you ever ride in France?
No, I didn't actually. I would have loved to have ridden in one of the big races over there, but never had the opportunity, which is a real shame. Rode everywhere else, but didn't get to ride there.
You and your mates have been to the Arc de Triomphe, meeting. There's a story there.
There's a story there.
Yeah.
It's like their
It's
Melbourne
not
Cup,
necessarily
isn't it?
about the meet there, the Arc de Triomphe.
That's fine. As
Race
much as
meet.
you can remember.
Well, I mean, I could only speak on behalf of the boys that went, which is Drew and Gitz. And they had I think Gitz had a decent day. Drew did his tail. And they kind of went to L'Avenue, which is like one of those kind of fancy, hip restaurants not too far from the Arc de Triomphe, I think, actually, in the city centre. And boozing away, kind of try and chase their tail in away a little bit to kind of forget the amount of loss. Anyway, so as they're walking out, Gitz went right, Drew went left, whatever it was, but they kind of, phones were dead. They couldn't get in contact with each other. Gitz had the key, so he went back to the hotel. Drew had no idea where he was staying, how to get back there.
So this is well into the morning or into the night?
I'd say we'd be well into that. And
He was
anyway,
half-assed.
so Drew ends up sleeping on the streets of Drew ends up sleeping on the streets of Paris. I think he found a fire exit, maybe a cupboard somewhere. Like
Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
Drew
he's
was
a mess.
waking up and going,
Yeah.
what am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
Great Wallaby just
Sleeping in the streets
on
of Paris.
Sleeping rough.
Grub. And so, I mean, he's done a lot of work on himself lately. He's in a good place at the moment.
Yeah, he's in a better place.
He's in a better place.
Sounds like he needed to.
He's in his.
Well, he started
sleeps in
from a
bed
very
now.
low bar.
Sleeps in a bed now. Sleeps in a king-size bed. He's doing really well.
Hats off to you, Drew.
But I mean, like in terms of like those kind of punting stories, I mean, I actually don't have too many. Like the extent of my racing, horse racing kind of career, or whatever you want to do it, or whatever you refer to it as, is I remember '92 Sub-Zero.
Yes.
I remember coming home from the bus from school, and the bus driver was like, "Everyone quiet," so I can listen to the Melbourne Cup.
Yeah.
And so I'm tuned in and thinking, "What's going on here?" Sub-Zero kind of rang a bell because of Mortal Kombat as a kid, right, on the
Yes.
Sega system, whatever you call it. And so, yeah, I remember tuning into that. Sub-Zero come home in 92. We're there at Winx last meet.
Last mate, yeah.
Was
Was
that
that
Queen
19?
Liz? That
20?
was
Somewhere during COVID, maybe?
Just before.
just before.
2019.
Yes, it was. So,
It's hard to gauge in terms of time frame with COVID.
Well,
It's like a
don't
bit of a reset.
we refer to time now as COVID.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pre
Right,
or
we go.
post.
Oh, was it? Yeah. Pre,
hard.
During.
It
But
really-
that was a big day, Queen Elizabeth Stakes Day, where she
and
smashed them.
33rd straight, right?
Yeah.
That's impressive.
It's 25 Group 1s, I believe, and 33.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
You were there that day, Bossy?
Yeah, I
You-
was.
You were riding?
Yeah, I was there. I was there riding and took the opportunity. I got all the lads that weren't riding the race. I wasn't riding the Queen Elizabeth. There's only about 6, 7 runners. I said, come on, boys, we'll all go out on the inner track and we'll watch from that side looking back so we can see the stands full of people because you'll never experience this again in your life. So we all went out to the inner track, which they call the Kensington track at Randwick, and we all stood there on the and watched her win, by a minute, and just to hear and feel the atmosphere is electric.
Why was Winx so good?
Oh, there was a lot of things that made her good. She's faster than everyone else for number one, but she just obviously had incredible athletic ability, but she would have had an incredible aerobic capacity. Massive deep girth. They suck in massive amounts of oxygen every breath, like tons just comes in and out, So they just they don't get fatigued. These real good ones. They can run. Not that they can run faster than anyone else, but they run faster longer. So they have this ability to make long runs and just keep sustaining that speed. And when you put like good physical ability, fast, and you get all of a sudden you get that great lung capacity and the aerobic capacity, and you put it all together, all of a sudden that's when you get a champion. And the will to win. They want to pass other horses. So when you get that combination, that's when you get the greats.
I read something, Bossy, at the time when they did a scientific bit of research about her, and they said her stride cadence was quicker than any horse they'd ever seen.
Yeah.
So, okay, the stride length is one thing with
yes.
it, but she was turning over those wheels were spinning quicker than any other
Yeah.
horse that they'd known. I don't know if you
Fast
you
twitch
noticed that.
muscles, big, powerful animal with
Wild.
fast twitch muscles with long stride. So you all of a sudden you get Usain Bolt. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
You got long stride with fast twitch muscles.
Good mix.
You get a superstar. And
Yeah.
that's what it is. They are kind of freaks. They are freakish animals that come along every now and then,
Bit like
like
you and your
athletes.
cohorts.
Yeah, just wouldn't
Yeah.
myself up
Put
there.
yourself in Winx's class. It's
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not bad.
Maybe a good stride, but certainly not the lung capacity. Found that
What
out
was the
actually
best
the
part
other
of
night.
you? Talk to me about that. What was the part of your game that either made you the most proudest or was your greatest asset?
Oh, good question. Geez. It's a tough one.
No, but there must
How do
be-
you talk
there's-
yourself up?
Well, no, there is. I can. You could ask me the question. I can tell you, but what was it?
I
Your
think
mental
my-
attitude. It could be anything.
I'd have to go off. We did these little like connection pieces where you kind of had to go around the room and talk to your mate and give them some feedback about what you respect about them, what they perceive as your influence and things like that. The common bit of feedback from the team and over the years was potentially consistency, and I think that came from understanding one, my role, my skill sets. But two, just being available, because there's one thing to play well. That's half the battle, really. Like most of the battle is actually getting there, getting to the start line.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
To play football, whether it's provincially or internationally, week to week, it's fucking tough.
Yeah.
Like you wake up on Monday and there's like the internal like conversations that you have with yourself.
It's a rough sport. Like you've got like how many rucks in a game, for instance, on average? 50, 60,
Well, I mean, like
maybe more.
maybe not rucks, but in terms of you got carries, you've got tackles, you've got cleans, like you've got a lot of involvements. And
I'm just thinking like the number of times 10 blokes go into one congregated area and fight over
Yeah.
one ball like a seagull over a chip
Oh,
and
it's-
just smash each other.
yeah, and
It can't be fun.
Well, it's
waking up on
not
Monday.
because you've got to have this total disregard for your body, right? And that's kind of hard to do.
No, thanks.
I think what you're saying is it's the stuff that no one sees, which you do.
Yeah.
they're the things that's what
And I
makes
took
you
a real-
better than everyone else.
Exactly right.
It's
I took
just sacrifices
I
that you
took
make.
a real pride in that.
Yes.
And making myself available. So I kind of I mean, it suits my personality. And I won't refer to it as OCD because I'm not diagnosed OCD, and that's a serious issue. I would say it was just anal and superstitious and process oriented.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Your weirdest superstition or weirdest trait? Like you'd look back
well,
on
everything,
now and
mate,
go,
it was just, mate, I just did everything the same. Like, it was weird. I played footy the other night. I actually came out of retirement Tuesday night.
Did you?
Well, I mean, I've got this classic Wallabies game coming up in a couple of weeks. We're playing against the Lions Legends. And these Lions Legends have picked a team that's still playing. Like half of them are still playing professionally. Dan Bigelow, halfpenny.
awesome.
And I'm thinking, 7 weeks away. I didn't really actually put my hand up for it. Drew told me I was playing. Then I find out there's 2 matches. I'm like, there's 2 ways you can go about this, right? Because usually it's a gentleman's agreement. There's nothing gentleman's about that, particularly if they're still playing professionally. And also, blokes, you kind of like want to put a bit of sting into. Like, it's a nice little opportunity to kind of
get one
get
back.
a couple back,
Yeah.
right? I was in the 2013
How long are the
losing
games?
team against the Lions.
How long are the games?
That's a good question, actually. Hopefully not too long. I'd say there'd be 30 minutes.
Okay.
Each way.
Too long. And so I'm like, I've started to kind of redline a little bit, right? And so I've started my prep for that game. So I'm thinking, I'll get some volume done, I'll get in the gym, maybe get strong again. I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
Get some conditioning through the pins, get my hands on the ball down at North's training. Actually, you know what? I might play a couple of games with the boys. So I called the coach over the weekend and I said, mate, you got any spots available? Like I'm thinking about coming back and having a bit of a run with 4th grade just to kind of get my hands on the ball and find my timing again. And
How many tests did you play for the Wallabies?
121.
So old mate has rocked
This is
up
incredible.
playing 4th grade,
Yeah.
morbidly hungover from the night before, and he's looked across and he's gone, that bloke played for the Wallabies 21 times, and I've got to tackle him.
I'm like, look, I'm thinking, I know you guys got a bye next weekend, but the next one against Parrot at North Sydney Oval, I could potentially come off the bench. So I've got myself another little 2-week runway into my first game of footy back. He goes, well, yeah, maybe. But actually, we're playing Sydney Uni on Tuesday night. I was thinking, 2 weeks, 2 days. Okay, well,
Yeah.
that's all the same,
Yeah,
right?
it is.
I'll see it. No, I'll see it 6 o'clock. St Andrews, Sydney Uni. Anyway, so I'm there, and it was weird. Like the drive-in was brought me back. You know what it's like.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if it's like you every time you get back onto a horse.
Oh, no,
or
I've done that. I've had this. I know exactly where you're
And I
going.
was like, I had the guts, had the
Yeah.
butterflies, the nerves, and I was like, am I going to be? What's going on here? Because it's been 4 years since I played professionally, right? Or been in that zone. And I'm thinking, I'm actually enjoying this. Like you don't realise it. You kind of miss that.
Oh, yeah.
You miss the process.
Oh, yeah.
It's not the anxiety. It's just kind of like, I don't know what to refer to it as. It's just like you lock in.
I used to love the feeling half sick going to the
Yeah.
races, nerves, and because then I just knew I was coming on. You know,
There's
I
some
just
good
knew I
shit.
was
There's some good shit.
Oh, it's great stuff because you just start feeling your whole body start to come alive, and I did the same thing.
And so I'm in there, I'm in the change rooms, and I'm like, okay, what was I've got to remember. So I'm going through my socks, my boots, and strapping my wrists, and then, all this. And I'm like, and I'm trying to introduce myself. The boys don't know their names, and they're like, boys are walking in the change rooms after, their day's work, and they're going, what are you doing here? I'm like, playing footy with you, mate. And so I'm out there, and I'm off the bench, so the boys start, and Nacken, who was the 13 in the first half, puts his hand up and says, "Swoop, you're on." His hammy kind of tightened up a little bit. I was like, okay, this is a little bit more time than I expected. So I got the 7 minutes of the first half, the back 7 minutes, and then played the second half 30 minutes. And, a couple of good touches, but I lost my lungs out there. Like it's funny, no matter what you do or in terms of conditioning or cardio, to prep for a game of football or get fit for a game of football, there's nothing that prepares you for actual game of football.
No.
Like you can do anything.
Correct.
You can do anything on a training field, but once you're out there, because it's just the up downs, the contact, those little untrained, moments you can't train for.
Yeah. What about this Lions series, mate? How does it end up? Like 2013, you scored before talking about your traits, I mean, you could find the stripe. You could find a try out of somewhere, and you did against the Lions in 2013. I don't know how many times that's got to run on your phone, on your YouTube. You've maybe got it saved. Did you
Run
screen
at the
save?
moment.
Yeah.
Run at the moment.
But how is this edition going to line up against a very strong British and Irish Lions touring team?
Yeah, I'm really liking our chances. And when I say liking our chances, like I said earlier, the resurgence, but just the growth of the team, just in the, I don't know, the areas that we've kind of just lacked a little bit of attention in over the years. So I'm just seeing retention of ball, continuity of. I'm seeing like a game where there's blokes who are hungry to compete in every moment. You know, not take a breath, but just have a genuine crack, but also move on and let go, because it's hard to play international football and fear error. And once the error occurs, to get over that. Yeah. Right. So I'm seeing a more resilient kind of outfit, and I'm just loving what you see off the ball as well. Like there's guys that have got their eyes up and they're communicating and they're being football players rather than athletes. And so, and obviously that's influenced by Joe Schmidt. But yeah, what I've seen this year too, in terms of form leading into the competition, like the Australian teams have absolutely killed it this year. You know, we had 4 Australian teams in the top 6 there for a couple of weeks. It's going to be competitive, and I reckon we'll do it. I think the result is going to be dependent on how well they can how well they can come together as a team. Because, like, you know, what's the old saying? You can have a team full of rock stars, but you can't have a rock star team, right? They've got to be able to come together. Like, so they've got absolute world class players in that squad. I reckon it's on Andy Farrell to see whether or not how well he can gel them together.
What about
come over and how willing they are to play for each other and play as a team. So I think if we can kind of win the first, that'll set us up nice.
What about the influence of playing at home too? That's got to be
huge.
It's got to be a big factor, right? Playing in front of your home crowd and in each city, big city. That must be a big influence for us.
It's it's.
I mean, there's pressure in that, but it's good pressure, right?
Really good pressure. I mean, there's nothing better. I mean, you kind of have to play away before you realise the importance of playing at home. And, you know, when you kind of experience it, or you're embarking on campaigns, World Cups in, say, the UK or wherever, Japan, wherever it is, France, or you're just playing a test at Eden Park in Auckland. You know, you come home and you're seeing more yellow. Like, you get a lot of it. And to be fair, when you're in the moment or in the contest, you're just so process-oriented. You're just thinking, I've just got to nail my role. You actually kind of, you lose sense of the crowd. You only take it in when you can, but when you can take it in, particularly in a break or off the back of some type of positive play, it's really
like
useful.
your caper.
Well, I mean, it just gives you energy, which you probably didn't think you had. You know, like if you're feeling fatigued in the last 10 and, you know, the scores can be locked or whatever the situation is, and you've got that crowd surging behind you, there's an energy that comes from the crowd that you actually receive, and you can take that to the end of the game.
Because watching a race is completely different to watching a race on TV. Like live, the TV and the live is 2 completely different atmospheres, right? Yeah. I've always wanted to know, when you're in there and can you hear the, like, say, a Melbourne Cup?
It's very rare. I've experienced it a couple of times. Times when the Cox Plate is where you really experience, because the Moonee Valley, they're all on top of you. It's such a cauldron. You come around that corner and you sort of go up, and the crowd looks almost like you're running into the crowd. That's what it feels like. And it's just, it's like a tsunami. The noise is crazy. Because what happens when horses gallop, when their foot hits the ground, their first foot hits the ground when they gallop, it's called breaking stride. So they actually slow by a few seconds, by a few kilometres. So there's a moment where it actually goes quiet for this millisecond, a little bit of, you know what I mean? This noise comes and goes. It's so quick, but in that moment you can hear the crowd, because the wind, when they're striding off again, when they're powering for the back legs, obviously the wind hits you hard, and then when they break, it slows by that just a couple of fractions of a kilometre, and you hear that buzz, that crowd. When I won my 5th Melbourne Cup, my 3rd Melbourne Cup in 2005, like when she broke clear, I just completely switched off. She was home, and I just experienced for 20 seconds this roar. You know, that was incredible. Never get that feeling again. You know,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, because you just all of a sudden, wow, I'm home in this big moment. 120,000 people, I was going, wow, how good is this?
How'd you celebrate?
Oh, mate, a week.
Yeah?
Yeah, we flew down to Port Lincoln and just tore that place apart for a week.
I'm guessing you took the cup everywhere?
Yes.
How'd you go Oaks Day, by the way, that 05?
Oh, well, no.
You waited till after?
After the week, after Stakes Day. after that Saturday, you just, mate, a week, you're just off.
Never asked you though, but 05 Stakes Day, Oaks Day, which is 2 days after the Melbourne Cup, you had a good party that night. But were you like him in the Barbarians game against South Africa?
Lining up like that. No, it's funny though, when you're that fit and you're that ripped to shreds, like you can party till, and generally because you've had a massive day, you're physically and mentally spent by 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
You know what I was like? I was like those two straight mowers. Just before they run in the field, they go, wow, and stop. That's what I'd be going, wow, I'm lit up, then, whoa, I'm gone. 10 o'clock and you crashed. And then you realise that, man, I've got to do this again Thursday, back up, and then I've got to do it again on the Saturday.
How much does your weight feedback or measurement of weight play a role in your weekly
It's
routine?
everything.
It's like, how many times are you on the scales?
Oh, a lot. And most of the time you got that good at it, you just kind of looked at your body and went, I'm 51.
You knew it.
You just knew. And you jump on the scales and you were 51.2.
Are you one of those blokes that turn up to the Sydney International Airport, pick up your suitcase and go, yeah, that's 21.2 kilos?
100%. That is a fact. I can grab a suitcase and go, yeah, that's under, and it will be under. It's crazy.
Bet you before North's fourth grade, you didn't put the shit just before you put the jumper on. Yeah, 51.
Oh, mate, I'm pretty scared to step on the scales these days.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
Did you feel better when you actually? That's for Chris.
No, because playing weight's important for us.
Yes.
Yeah, and you've got an optimal playing weight, and changes over the years. But I'm just kind of interested in that because that's number one, right?
Well, it's most guys. That's all they think about. Their waking is what they can't eat and what they have to do to keep maintaining.
What
their
was
weight.
your number one weight killer? As in terms of what you had to stay away from.
No,
As in food
like a
type
Lamington
or-
or something.
Beers and stuff. I was not when I rode. I wasn't not a very big drinker. Like I drink. I love me reds, but anything like beers and stuff would because it just sits on you for some reason. I was a very big massive protein eater. A lot of meats.
Yeah.
And salads.
Yeah, right. You feel good on that diet?
I always did.
Yeah, good.
Always did.
But
But what I've learned is everyone's different. Everyone's blood makeup is different. So what
100%.
suits you?
Let me guess. B?
I don't know. Probably.
Swoop, it's been great having you on. Didn't even get to mention kickoffs and kick-ons.
Yes.
You're
What about?
there it
what
is,
a great podcast.
The producer of this, Professor, hosts that
How good.
so well with Matt Giddo, Drew Mitchell, yourself. Sometimes you're in sluggos, sometimes you're not, depending on how you feel.
Enjoying
we
it?
make it up as we go along.
Yeah,
You love
yeah,
it?
yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Drew refers to it as scheduled time with your mates, which is actually, he's got a fair point.
Yeah, that's good.
It's a bit of a punish putting up with this bloke on the
Professor.
other on the professor, but apart from that, it's good fun.
Yeah.
Like I didn't realise kind of staying engaged in the game after a time it would actually be very enjoyable, but it is.
Well,
Yeah,
cheers
cheers,
to that.
boys.
Cheers to the Lions tour. And
Cheers.
cheers to Car
Cheers,
Reg
boys.
Oaks.
Thanks for
Cheers,
having me.
mate.
Appreciate
Cheers.
it, yeah.
Cheers.
He's a good character, Adam Ashley Cooper, isn't he, Bossy? Really enjoyed that chat.
Mate, what a superstar and what a career. And the countries that he's visited and lived at and played union at, it's just incredible. I love his one, La Swoop in France, and his story of wanting to stay there. That was pretty remarkable. But, just a good-looking dude too. The hair, he's got the whole thing, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's the silver fox. He's
The silver fox.
And Bossy, what about the fact that he's actually still playing for in lower grades in the Sydney comp? That, with all due respect to the bong bong picnics, that's like you picking up your saddle on the odd occasion they have a meet there and just going, just for a bit of fun, I might go down there and keep in shape and ride. I'm not saying that you won't do that, but that's a devotion to the game. Yeah,
it's amazing. The love for the game. Yeah, there's no doubt. I think it's just the camaraderie he has with the lads in the sheds. That's that's a big part of what he misses. So, getting around there and getting in touch with the footy and getting a kick in and probably dropping the shoulder into someone, you'd never lose that.
Getting bashed. That sounds like awesome fun on a Saturday, Arvo. Well, like, have you ever thought, maybe I could just do it a little bit, go back and ride occasionally, or you are DUN done? I'm done. Oh, yeah. Adam, it'd be months of prep because to get those fitness levels up to where you want to be,
Yeah, because it's pretty dangerous, right? If you're not ready and you're not thinking well and you're not sharp, it's not like just going for a run and having a kick with the mates. You might do a hammy or something. But if I'm out there and I'm a bit reckless or not on the job, I'm endangering people around me. So there's a lot more to consider than me just going and having a ride. You know, it's far bigger than that. But which not downplaying what he does, going and having a kick with the boys and playing with the juniors and that. But my realm of going to do what I want to do is far more significant if you get it wrong.
Yeah, that's a very good point. That's a very good point you make.
So I'm done.
Absolutely. DUN. And don't forget the British and Irish Lions, they obviously the Australian tour is the main thing, but they're actually playing a warm-up game for the first time ever in Ireland, and I can't imagine there's going to be a spare seat there when they play in Dublin. They're playing against Argentina. Now, with the British and Irish Lions, Bossy, for the uninitiated, it's England, Ireland, Wales, Scotland, the best of the best, all form one big squad. And Ireland have the biggest representation, tipping out the number of English there. The poor old Welsh, there's only 2 Welshmen there, but they're social types. They'll get on with everything. So, but I can't imagine what kind of send-off they're going to get in Dublin, of all places. I don't know if you've ever been to Dublin, but they're not going to be quiet, I wouldn't imagine.
Oh, this is going to be off the Richter scale, isn't it? When is this actually being played?
Saturday morning, Bossy, that's what it is. So it's going to be pumping.
I think the Wallabies will be watching them with keen interest from here. They'll be really looking at their opposition and making notes. I'm making notes of plenty, I'm tipping.
Yeah, absolutely. Joe Schmidt and the Wallabies staff looking forward to the British and Irish Lions tour. The 3 tests against the Wallabies, the centrepiece, but around that they travel the country and play tour matches, and it's going to be a great vibe over the next 2 months. Big sporting event coming to Australia. And to get involved, it segues beautifully here, Bossy, into our other supporters here at Who's the Boss, or one of our other supporters, IPE Events, ipevents.com.au, to get involved in some of the best corporate experiences, corporate packages at sporting events you can ever imagine. Get involved here with the crew, Bossy, and you'll be looked after all day at the cream of the crop in terms of watching sport in this country.
Yeah, they have the best spots available to them too for all these events. So the British Lions tour, that'll be huge. If you think you're going to miss out, you probably have. They're probably sold out, but get online, find a ticket, and try and go with IPE, because you're going to get in the best spot. You're going to be treated like a king. Great food, great entertainment. And apart from that, they do all other events, so F1, and they do the Origin and the racing. They cover a lot of the racing.
Yeah, the Melbourne Cup Carnival is a big thing for them later in the year. If you're thinking about getting to Flemington for the 4 days, the crew at IP Events will look after you. ipevents.com.au, and Origin 3 in Sydney as well, one of their big events. Let's get now to the thoughts for the racing this weekend and Bossy's best. So, Bossy, the big day around Australia on Saturday actually is just west of Brisbane. The beautiful sporting hub of Ipswich produced some great sports stars across Australia. But what's Ipswich Cup Day like as a spectacle?
Hectic. It's one of those party, a lot of noise, a lot of partying. It's a real festival. It's like a country cup meeting, but in the city. And it's always fun. I was lucky enough to win one. I've only probably ridden in a few of them, but I won one of the races, and it's a really good race to win.
Yeah. It sounds like a place that Mark Zara could really tap into if he wasn't in Ibiza at the moment.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't mind going there and not being, obviously I'm not competing now, but I wouldn't mind actually going to an Ipswich Cup meeting just to feel the vibe, because when you're riding, you knew the energy around you, but and trying to get out of the joint was always, oh my God, cut lunch in a thermos trying to get out of the place because they're all just everywhere.
I reckon the Sunday morning might have a post-nuclear fallout feel to it, like nice and deserted and everything a bit quiet and everyone a bit hush-hush.
I'm pretty confident that will be every Sunday morning after Ipswich Cup.
Yeah. Anyway, let's find a winner, shall we? And we'll start with the Ipswich Cup. It runs at just before 3:20 on Saturday afternoon Eastern Time. Which way are you going?
Well, I'm going with the Gay Waterhouse Adrian Bott trained Osmos. It's got terrific form. It's got a good draw. Regan Bayliss rides. It'll go forward and it'll be very, very hard to run down from Miss Jolene and Felix the Scat.
Felix the Scat. It's an interesting track, Ipswich. It looks to have this really sharp home turn, and then bang, before you know it, you're not far from the finishing line. Yeah,
it's a very much on speed type of track. Very short straight, very difficult. And, if you're back in the pack, you're going to have to negotiate a path, which can always lead to getting checked or getting stopped at this sort of track. So generally horses that are in the first 4 coming around the home turn are in the race.
There you go. So there's the tip from the guy that knows the track very well. The other featured event, the other featured race on the day is the Eyeliner Stake for the sprinters. It comes after the Ipswich Cup. Where are you going with this one, Bossy?
Yes, I'm going with the well-named Warnie. Check the breeding and you'll know what I'm talking about. But he was an emergency for the Stradbroke, and everyone was hoping that he would got a run in the Stradbroke. And if he did, there would have been a flood of money for him because they were expecting him to run very well in the Stradbroke. That sets up well enough for an Ipswich Eyeliner. So I got him winning from Metal Art.
Speaking of Warnie, did you ever meet the great man?
Yes.
Had much to do with him?
Yeah, I did. I played golf with him. We used to play, at the Capitol. We used to love getting there because it was, it's a private course. No one was ever there, and what a great man. I still got his number in my phone. I'll never ever get rid of that. So I had the pleasure of having a friendship with him. He's a beautiful person.
Well, it lives on through horseflesh, Warnie. So very well named, and will be backed just because of the name, but also for the fact that it's quite a talented animal. So Kira Ma to put Warnie right in the line of winning the Eyeliner as a pronounced favourite in that one. So, Bossy, enjoy the races on Saturday and enjoy the weekend, mate. We'll catch up next week for another good chat with a special guest.
Yep, thank you. And enjoy the week. We've got a lot of good racing at Royal Ascot this week. So tune in. I know it's early in the morning, but it's well worth the watch.
Cheers, Bossy. Have a great week, mate.
Thanks, Adam. Cheers, mate.
Thanks for watching and listening to Who's the Boss. We'll be back next week, as mentioned, with another special guest, Season 4, Who's the Boss. If you like our content, hit the like button somewhere down here.
And if you want to subscribe, right here.